Right, so this is one of the big problems on these particular bikes. It's the wire which is coming from the stator up to the rec. Okay, now a bit of resistance tends to build up in these wires, couplings. Not really, as you can see there, a bit of movement. If there's movement, it's not making a proper contact. This is what I'm led to believe anyway, and it makes sense. So resistance builds up. Problem I had with this before I had it fixed was moisture got in it. Now where it is, you got your side panel coming down there, and it's just literally sat there, just tucked behind the side panel. It's ridiculous, really. You're getting all the crap and spray from like the wet weather if you get caught out in the rain, if you ride it in the rain. It's just going up there, which I did. I had it kept outside for a while because I didn't have the luxury of the garage. So moisture got in there, just shorted it out. Smelled burning when I was going along, pulled over, and I actually see drip. This was actually further back because obviously when the mechanic's done his work, he's shortened the cables. This was actually up here because there's a melted bit there. So I noticed moisture coming out and just dripping on there from it. I was like, oh, right, okay, so it's shorted out. But with that, it actually buggered up my stator and buggered up the rec as well. So yeah, a few £100 later, here we are. But I want it hardwired. That's where I'm going with it. So I've bought the cable what I need to hardwire it. So I may cut it probably, I don't know, about 4 or 5 inches either way, then just hardwire it in from there. Okay, I've got everything I need to do in the job, so just having the balls to do it now, but it's fairly straightforward. And then use some of this. I've got some of this heat shrink tubing I shall put on. Make sure it's all nice and waterproof. And the joints I'm using are heat shrunk and soldered, and they're waterproof as well, so double protection all the way down. There's a sleeve on there as well, which it's all going to be done nicely. Now that's obviously positive and negative, which comes on the rec to the goes into the wiring loom, but I'm going to direct feed that to the battery. So I've bought new wires, snip it off, new connections, direct to the battery to the positive and negative, and I've got a 30 amp circuit breaker to go in between the positive line, which is all going to be nice and tidy in there as well. There is 2 positive, 2 negative coming out of there. I don't believe that's the case on all reg rectifiers, but it is. But obviously I've got to splice 2 wires into one. Hopefully that won't be too much of a problem. That's to cut down the resistance again with this, although that's a pretty good connection, but it's going straight to the battery instead of going into the loom and round the works and everything. So that's the plan. Hopefully it will create a bit more ampage and, you know, crank up a little bit easier. So I've been told, listen to other people's views on it, one thing or another. This wire, which the positive and negative clip there, which goes into the loom, I'm going to use that to buy some other connectors. And well, for starters, I've got my USB thing which was connected to the battery, but I'm told don't have too much stuff connected to your battery. So now I'm going to do positive and negative. I'm going to use this. I'm not just going to have it lying about. Basically, I've got 2 sources of positive and negative there. So first off, the USB cable will go into it, and I think I'm going to put heated grips on it at some point as well, just for a little bit of luxury because it's getting old. Yeah, so that's it. I haven't got any other plans. Maybe a voltmeter, but I can run that into any positive and just ground the negative off anywhere. So, but that's something I want to do as well. Just keep my eye on the volts, just to make sure that everything's tiggity-boo, because this does generate some heat as well. But I am putting thicker cable in. That's I think that's a 12 gauge yellow wire as it stands. See how easy that come apart? See, this is the problem. Okay, so that's 12 gauge, and I've actually got 10 gauge because I couldn't get hold of any 12 gauge. However, it is thicker wire, so hopefully it's going to be okay. We'll soon find out. This is obviously a little bit thinner than 12 gauge. That's probably a 14, 16 gauge or something. I'd like to, ideally I'd like, you know, 12 gauge going all the way through right down into the stator, but I'm not that clever. I'm not that adventurous in a minute. I'll just give it a go with what I know and see where we go from there. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so this is the replacement, as it happens, 10 gauge, 10 AWG, 10 gauge wire, which is going to replace, going to be the hard wiring for this. So obviously ordered, what was it, about a metre ordered, can't remember how much it was, probably about £4 or £5 for a metre. So just cut it into 3 pieces, obviously 3 wires going into the plug and out of the plug there. So technically it's going to be hardwired like this. Now obviously this connection's up out of the way under the panel, so which is good. It's going to have a heat sleeve on it, so I can shrink sleeve, whatever you call it, going up there. So I'll probably cut this back, and then obviously this particular one going down here, fabric one, into the stator. Okay, so it's going to be sealed completely. Okay, and predominantly these pieces are going to be sealed so nicely, so it shouldn't get no moisture in it at all whatsoever. It'll be just like one piece. Okay, so if any moisture or wet does get into it, gravity just take it down that way anyway. Okay, so these are the connectors, what I was talking about as well. Again, they've got the gauge on. They're for 10 to 12 gauge wire. So once you've done your splice, I didn't want to bore you with splicing. I think, you know, you probably know how to do it anyway, like, but just taking probably about 1 centimetre off, just twisting it in. Just crimped it in initially because I believe I'm led to believe these ones have got a bit of metalwork in the middle, which it has, which you crimp. But when you put a bit of heat on it, it's kind of like solder as well, so it melts, makes a good connection. And then this obviously shrinks as well, seals up, so you can't see any of the gap there at all or anything. So that's the theory. Obviously I shall give it a try. I'll probably give it a try on a scrap bit of what I've got, just to make sure that it's all good. What I didn't do to the wires, and I kicked myself a little bit really, is just when I stripped them, like, you know, obviously they're frayed and you just twist it just to get it in, which I have done on the others. I've actually soldered it, you know, to put a bit of solder on there just to keep it all nice and hopefully cut down on the resistance. Didn't do it on this. Kicking myself for it a little bit, but I'm hoping with the solder in there, when it's warmed up, should be enough. But we'll see. Proof's in the pudding, I suppose. But so obviously cut into 3 lengths, connectors on both ends, crimped in, and then just fitting it in, doing the same here, splitting the wires, crimping it in, heating it up. Job's good. That's the plan. So that's the next step. Going to do that. And I shall probably, I'm going to take a reading, like with the multimeter. I'm going to take a reading of the bike running at temperature and what it's actually generating, what's it charging the battery at, just so we can see where we're at with it. Because obviously, I've seen in the past, like, people have done exactly the same thing, and with the better wiring, hard wiring, it's kicking out more power basically. So you know, starting better and more power going to the battery quicker. So I should take a little video of the bike running before and after, just own curiosity really, because, you know, with these sort of things, when you do it, you want to make sure that yeah, you've done it for a reason really. I know it's getting rid of this dodgy connection anyway, like, but you want to see some sort of improvement, and that's all I'm looking for this. It's an old, well, it's 15, 16 years old, this bike. Hasn't done a great deal of miles, and it's been reasonably well looked after, but I want to keep it that way. So, you know, let's do it and see where we go. So I'll do that first, get that heat shrunk, and then I'll work on it. I've already built the wire connections for this, so in other videos. So it's a case of just I'm waiting for a rivet gun. Actually, I've just ordered one off Amazon, just to where the circuit breaker is. God, I'm mumbling. When the circuit breaker clips onto the top of the battery cover, I just want to rivet it to it. You know, just simple. Okay, right, brilliant. Okay, so I've done a sample piece of wiring with this connector, this heat seal connector, which it's apparently got a bit of solder in there. Where the metal, you crimp the metal together, and I think there's a little bit of solder, or the piece of metal melts with heat anyway. Okay, so A spare bit of 10 gauge wire. I just done the usual, just took the silicone sheath off about a centimetre, put it in, crimped it both sides. Okay, and then just put the heat gun to it, which is just like the you could do it with anything, one of those jet lighters or heat gun like mine. You might be able to do it with a hairdryer, but I think it's a bit too tough, this plastic, actually, because you really need to get a good bit of heat on it to shrink it. And as you can see, that really has made a good seal. That's, you know, it is the proper 10 to 12 gauge sleeve on there anyway, so everything fits lovely. I don't know if you can pick that up at all or anything, but yeah, that's proper sealed. I've just done it with the pliers a minute ago just to test it and give it a good old pull. That's not coming out, and you know, there's no need to me do anything else to that anyway, because it's obviously just going to sit there, and with the other sheathing going on, heat shrunk, it's all going to be nice and tidy. So that is, well, to me that's perfect, and that's going to cut down on the resistance going through the wires and everything, like unlike the dodgy connections which rattle about a bit. No moisture is going to get in there. It's a good connection, no resistance, brilliant stuff. So fingers crossed and all that, it all ends up good. So that's obviously going to be done on the main wires and the reg rec on the yellow wires, and then whatever else needs doing, hard wiring to the battery. I might need to use these as well, can't think at the minute, but there you go, brilliant stuff, happy with that. Okay, so this is the inside of the battery bay, obviously. Now some people may have this connector in there just to keep the battery in place, which, well, it obviously doesn't really. It's a bit of, it looks neat, it does the job sort of thing, like, but you can see those two little holes here. Get my fat hand out of the way. There used to be these, you might see on another video, these little plastic push-in things which just broke, basically brittle. So now that goes straight through down to the mudguard, so you can see daylight through there. So potentially a lot of spray water can come up there into the area where the wires are. You can see in here like dust where it's previously got a bit of damp and everything in there anyway. So really poor design, but hey, who am I to criticise? Obviously I want to sort that out, because this piece here, this is where I'm going to fit my circuit breaker for the where I'm hardwiring straight from the reg rec into the battery terminals there. So I want it to sit on there. I'm going to pop rivet it to the top here, because there's a bit of space around there, and just jiggle all these wires around. That's the one what's going straight into the loom. Not done that yet, but anyway, we'll be getting to that. So I was gonna, the circuit breaker did actually line up with these holes here, but it's a bit too fiddly to mess about with all there, so I'm gonna, a bit more accessible, I'm gonna pop rivet, drill a couple of holes, pop rivet to that, and then I'm going to sort something out here, which I'll come to in a minute. So that's where I want that to be, because a lot of people with these bikes probably haven't even got this. That's probably just been broken off and just tossed aside. So yeah, we'll pull that out in a minute, and then we'll drill some holes and pop rivet the circuit breaker to it, and job's good. And also, like I say, I've just come up with a little idea to try and seal that off as well. And then I've got some neat little screws which will fix it in place, easy to get in and out as well. So okay, we'll get back to that in a minute. So what we've got here is just the tools I need for doing this piece, apart from the drill. Not going to bore you with that, we all know how to drill. Okay, so bit of Gorilla Glue, explain in a minute. Now that's obviously the circuit breaker which I want to attach to this piece here. Now I've just already marked a couple of holes where that's going to fit. Let's get over here so you can see it. Probably a bit too close on this. Anyway, okay, circuit breaker, so that's going to get riveted onto that. Okay, might just have to take that apart a little bit. I don't know though. Might be able to work that anyway. So we're presuming that's all on there, nice and tickety boo. Got to get it the right way around. It's actually going to be that way. Anyway, splitting hairs there. Now, what we've got here is some raw plugs, old raw plugs, which I don't use. Now I've just snipped these down. Now these are going to form the plugs for in the battery box area where I see where this is going to connect to. Because obviously you can see daylight, I want to keep the moisture out. So I've tried these out already, and it pops in okay. Now also what I've got is these little things from Halfords as well. Don't know what they actually call them, like, but it's like a, well, that one's actually not been broken off yet and set in. So okay, so basically it's just like a little plastic screw and rivet or raw plug type thing. Does the same thing, screw it in, it expands. And I've tested it out. When that goes in there, screws it down, it grips. So that's what that's going to look like, obviously. Those two in there, just keeps it nice and neat. It's got a little Phillips head on it as well, right? Just so easy access getting in and out. So that should be all okay there. Now disregard that. Okay, now obviously that's open at the bottom. So what I've done there is put a bit of this Gorilla Glue in the end there. Here's one I prepared earlier, good old Blue Beta. Okay, so I'll just put a bit of Gorilla Glue in there. That'll set and expand. Now you notice all this black gunky stuff around here as well. Let's get me fat fingers out of the way. Okay, now I found this on my bike, and it was to hold some wires in place, stuck to the fairing. And me not really chucking anything away, I thought, well, I'll salvage that because it's uber sticky. It's black, so you know it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb like white tack or blue tack or whatever. And it just stays sticky. So what the idea is, I'll put it around the top of the raw plug there, so when I push it in place, forms a nice seal. That's the plan. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So just to refresh, drill some holes, pop rivet that connector on, put the plugs in, and then basically that goes back in situ, and it all starts looking neat and tidy.
There's a coffee, Andy.
Cheers, Ange. Shout out Del Boy's Garage there for all the inspiration. Good old boy. Cheers. Loving your videos. Okay, getting back to this. Now, just got that clamped up just in place for the minute. So that's basically what I was trying to describe to you, how it's going to look now. So, drilled a couple of holes in the old Lego brick there underneath, and pot riveted it. Messed up on one side a little bit. Scored the holes, drilled it, a couple of mil out. There you go, got round it, not a problem. Okay, and also these are the two screws. I've put a bit of Gorilla Glue on those underneath, just to set those in place so they stay permanent. And then obviously they screw into the battery box area, all being well. It's never going to be like a massive tight fit or anything, because it's just, you know, it's just cheap plastic. But if it just holds it in place, stops it rattling around, that's done the job anyway. So just go down to here and we'll show you, move the wires. Okay, so sorry about this, fat fingers. There we go. So there's two raw plugs, and you can just about see the sealant round the edge. Literally just put that sealant round, pushed it down, and it's sealed it, and it's uber sticky, so I'm not expecting it to go anywhere. And Gorilla Glue inside, just to seal anything coming up. And when you put the old towel there, just in case there's a bit of drippage, because obviously going under here somewhere, where those little fins are there in the middle of the screen, you might be able to just see the bottom of the raw plugs there. So just in case the Gorilla Glue is a bit leaky and drips down, I don't want it to go on the Ugger at all or anything. So that should all be nice and sealed, no moisture getting in. Okay, next thing is, obviously when this is set, this Gorilla Glue, I thought it would set quicker actually, but it's taken a while, so I'll probably just leave it overnight. I'm not going to fanny around with that today and ruin it and start all again. Put it in place, test it out. Still got all the wiring to do, so this is just part of it, just getting ready. Okay, good one.